Well, let's start. Let's begin.
Start.
Well, welcome to this webinar about large-scale digital testing. We would like to share something about the solution at Utrecht University, about why we use it and how we use it. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Gerdine Slot, and as a product manager of e-assessment, I'm involved in this project for the last 2 years now. And I will be presenting with my colleague, Daan de Vries.
Yes, my name is Daan de Vries, and I'm responsible for the technical aspects of the e-assessment. There are a lot of IT involved with it, around networking, Wi-Fi networks, Chromebooks, a lot of other things. And I'm responsible for that part of digital testing. And I see that our presentation is not running with us. A moment, please. Well, there he is.
Oh.
And there he... Well, I will start sharing the screen again, then it will work better, I think. Start presentation. Yes, and there he is again. But it won't go to the next slide. Well, let's do it
without slides.
It's strange.
Yeah,
there it is.
There it is. Well, here you see a picture of a hardware testing hall set up with Chromebooks. That's how we facilitate large-scale digital testing, but also regular written exams. 3 years after pilot period, 3 years ago, we started with digital testing with the software for digital testing called Remindo and 300 Chromebooks. At the moment, we have 1,400 Chromebooks. And in a short period of time, the number of digital testing has grown fast, starting with 10% digital testing and 90% written testing. Now we've reached 50+% in the first period this year, since September. And these numbers, of course, also translate to high numerical growth. And that's why we call it large-scale digital testing, large numbers. And although we face some hesitance at the start, students and teachers rapidly embraced digital testing to improve their education, as you can see from the numbers in this study of 2016.
Well, we use for e-assessment 1,400 Chromebooks. The most of these Chromebooks we have on a central location in our educatorium. It's a central location with some large rooms where we can facilitate e-assessment for 800 students at a time. And we have also some Chromebooks on small satellite locations with 40 or 80 Chromebooks, so they can also do testings on a not that large scale. We use Acer Chromebooks, and that Acer Chromebooks do have a very long battery time, and that's necessary so we can have multiple testings at a day without recharging the batteries of the Chromebooks. And it's around, 10 plus hours that we can use the Chromebooks actively. The Chromebooks do have a 13-inch display, and for the most of the students that is large enough. And for some students, we have the possibility to connect an external screen, a large 22 or 24-inch screen. So if necessary, they can use a large screen. And on the Chromebooks, after starting the Chromebook, you get a kiosk application. And that kiosk application will provide a user-friendly screen from where you can start the testing application. In our case, that is Remindo. And it also provides a secure workspace so students can only make their tests and can't do strange things on the internet using WhatsApp or chat or whatsoever. They only can do the test on the Chromebook.
Yes, and why did we start digital testing? Well, mainly because it has many educational and organizational benefits for teachers, such as secure access to questions, test results, anytime, anywhere, access to analytic data of questions and tests immediately after a test, great open questions online, easily readable answers save time, and the option to add visual and audio questions. And we use a bottom-up approach where the teacher can decide whether or not to use the benefits for digital testing. Although from the growth figures, you can see that most teachers have embraced digital testing to improve their education.
Why Chromebooks? We did a search for what would be a best solution to provide digital assessment. And after comparing some different things like Windows laptops and also solutions that you keep in the location, we also tested with Chromebooks, and that worked out very well. Good thing is that the price of the Chromebooks is around 220 euro. It's very affordable to have multiple Chromebooks in our e-assessment solution. There are good options to secure the Chromebooks from a central place. Therefore, you use the Google Management Console. From the Google Management Console, you can manage all your Chromebooks. You can push the updates. You can push updates of the kiosk application, whitelist things or whitelist IP addresses and websites that students may use while they are making an assessment. And it's also easy to expand the amount of Chromebooks. We started with around 300 Chromebooks in 2015. Now we have 1,400 Chromebooks, and most times in the summer period we used to replace or expand the amount of Chromebooks. And it's very easy to do. I think last summer we expanded the Chromebooks with 200 or 300, and we did that in 3 or 4 days. So it's pretty easy to expand the Chromebooks. And it's also still possible to hybrid use the testing halls also for written exams. We can still use the exam halls if necessary. And most of the Chromebooks we have in the central examination hall, around 880, and the other 520 Chromebooks we use on the different faculties of the university.
Yeah, and to organize digital testing, the request and scheduling of exam slots take place in the regular process, the same as written exams. And to set up and clear away the Chromebooks and to assist with technical problems during the test, we have a standby pool of 30 e-assistants. Those are student jobs, and we have a small short video about it, but
due to some technical issues, we can't play the video.
Play it, but I will put the link on the Learning Environment Slack so you can see it after this webinar.
Well, we also have take some security measures to have a secure solution, because it's a very important process, the examination process. So what we did is we have a dedicated Wi-Fi network, and to that Wi-Fi network, only the Chromebooks that we use for e-assessment can connect to that network. And from that network, they can only access the things that are whitelisted. So the Remindo application, the web application they can use, but they can't use other things or other sites like Google or mail applications. They can only use the examination applications. And in the second place, the Chromebooks are managed from the Google Management Console. And from there, we make sure that the Chromebooks always have the latest security patches, the latest security updates and things, so that there won't be problems with insecure software on the Chromebooks. And at last, we developed an application, the kiosk application, to limit the usage of the Chromebooks. On the Chromebook, you have some standard applications, but we blocked all the applications that a student don't need to use during a test. So students can only make their exam, and they can't do other things while they are at the Chromebook, working at the Chromebook. Well, this is an example of the kiosk application. You see some large buttons in the kiosk application that are the testing applications that a student can use. In our case of the university, we use Remindo, but also the UMC, the hospital, is also using another testing application, and you can enter the application from the kiosk app. And it's very easy to log in from here. You also see some information about the battery status. What is the status of the battery of the Chromebook? You can see the version of the Chrome OS on the Chromebook, and also you can change the language of the kiosk application. So if international students have the possibility to switch to English and not in Dutch. To make the Chromebooks clearly recognizable, we have a label on the Chromebooks. You can see a picture of it, and we use it to communicate when there is a problem with the Chromebook. You can use this as a reference when you call the IT help desk, and it's also to prevent fraud. And we can clearly see which Chromebook is used for digital examination. We store the Chromebooks in these Chromebook cars, where you see a picture from now. In this Chromebook car, we can place 40 Chromebooks. And after the Chromebooks are in this Chromebook car, we can charge them at the place where we store them. And it's very safe to transport the Chromebooks to the examination halls. So this worked very fine for us.
Yes, and of course we learned some lessons these 3 years, a number of lessons, and large-scale digital testing requires a different level of organization. It requires more structure and standardization and formalizations of responsibility in the organization. Every small link in the process must work well, otherwise the students cannot make his test. And second, the limited battery time of a Chromebook needs to be taken into considerations for rostering, because you cannot use all time slots from early morning until late at night. The batteries are running out. And so, for example, you have to take into account a switch moment of Chromebooks to use whole day digital testing. Well, this is what we
yes, this is our presentation
and what we wanted to share. We have.
Yeah, you can send in some questions using the chat if you want. Maybe it's smart to mute the microphone for a while from our side. And if you send in the questions, we can answer them in a minute. Thank you for watching so far.
Yeah, thank you.